Thank you for coming to the Awaken Life podcast. I'm your host, Scott Landis. How can you live an absolutely fulfilling and purpose-filled life, maintain a passionate, intimate relationship, all while raising kids and growing multiple streams of income? That's the big question we seek to answer on this podcast by interviewing people who are already doing it. One thing we know for sure is it takes a community to do it well. So thank you for being a part of the Awaken Life community. I'm looking forward to growing with you, and on to the episode. Welcome to the Awaken Life podcast with Scott Landis, and today my guest is Michael Knight. Michael Knight, I remember him from Knight Rider, but not that Michael Knight. This Michael is the founder of Blue Portal Consulting, where he specializes in helping small and medium-sized businesses skyrocket their revenue and ROI with or without the help of Kit. Drawing upon 13 years of marketing industry experience, Michael has shaped his unique approach by combining a deep understanding of businesses' who and why with a profitable and tailored marketing strategy. Throughout his career, Michael has worked extensively with companies of all sizes, from small businesses to major brands and Fortune 500 corporations. Michael he also has a passion to mentor the next generation of successful marketers, assisting them in becoming the best versions of themselves, but both professionally and personally. Driven by a love for educating clients and a commitment to delivering smart, focused marketing strategies, Michael has established himself as the go-to expert when it comes to guiding businesses toward long-lasting success. There's Michael, Morgan, Marin, and Maverick, the family of four. Michael and Morgan have been married 15 years with the two kids, Marin and Maverick. Michael Knight, welcome to the Awaken Life podcast. Thanks for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're straight out of Idaho.
Straight out of Idaho, yeah.
All right.
And we've been here now 6 years. So came from the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon. I was an Oregon kid. So but we love the Idaho lifestyle, especially with the family, having the kids. Great place to be.
Where in Idaho?
We're in the Boise area.
Okay,
Boise area, right? You got to say it right. If you're saying Boise, then you're not from here. That's the rule.
Oh, say it again.
So
I need to know.
Boise. So you got to say it like see, like you see something.
Boise.
That's how you would say it. Yeah, correct.
That's how the locals say it?
Yes, not Boise.
Oh my gosh.
That's the distinguishing factor. Yeah. Not many towns are like that, but this is one of them.
You mispronounced Oregon for all my East Coast listeners.
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah.
Okay, so it's funny, actually, real quick side note. I met this last summer, I met a bunch of guys from, Midwest area. And they're actually, I can't remember what state, but they have an Oregon, and that's actually how it's pronounced. So no wonder all this time, us Oregon kids, we grew up hearing infomercials about Oregon, because that is the correct pronunciation over there somewhere.
Interesting.
But it's a town, not a state there. But yeah. So we're learning all sorts of interesting facts about how to correctly pronounce things. Did I get everybody's names right at the beginning?
You did, yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. So where did you grow up in Oregon?
I grew up in Medford, so I was actually born in Arizona.
Oh, really?
In Mesa, out of all places, so near where you're at. But then we kind of moved around a little bit. I was a pastor's kid, and then we kind of settled in Southern Oregon in Medford. I was there my entire childhood, actually. And then moved to the Portland area for college and thereafter.
Okay. Oh, okay. Where'd you go to college?
George Fox University.
Okay. All right. So I guess I don't remember that. I didn't remember that you were, by the way, everybody, Michael and I go back to, I actually had a stint in marketing, and that's where we met. Hey, shout out to Ryan and Ted and who else?
Oh, who else we got? There's a lot. There's now I'm gonna blank Billy. Can't forget Billy. He's doing his own marketing company now. Yeah, whole team over there. That was a good time.
What about the ladies? Can't forget the
Yeah, I know.
ladies.
I know. I'm.
We're
I
both blinking.
am
This
blanking.
is bad.
I'm so sorry.
All right, moving right along. So
Brush off to the side.
you were a pastor's kid in Medford. Okay, so
Yeah.
what was it like growing up as a pastor's kid? Was it a big church? What kind of thing was that?
Yeah, we were a decent sized church. It would run around 1,000 people, and on in good years, and it was good being a PK. Not everybody has the same experience I did.
Mhm.
Some of that comes just from maybe my childhood experiences, and I grew up having 26 surgeries, and so there was just a lot of family bond that we had over obviously the medical side of things, and
Mm.
so that kind of changed maybe the dynamic a little bit more than other families that maybe
Mhm.
don't have the same experience as I do. My dad was a youth pastor as well, and then went on to do other administrative and executive type roles.
Okay.
So it was but yeah, I was very blessed in the experience that I had growing up in a PK home.
Okay, cool. So did you have siblings?
I was an only child.
No way. We are both
Yep.
only children.
Oh wow.
Did you know
So
that?
that's why I married. No, I didn't know that. I didn't realize we were both only children.
Yeah.
That's great. And I mean, that's why I married my wife, who has she's the oldest of 10. I just get all
Oh,
my
wow.
siblings, through her side of the family.
Yes, that was a surprising uh added benefit of marriage to me as well. Like I have, a brother and sister-in-law. I was like, I didn't expect that. I mean, obviously it's
Yeah.
obvious when you think about it, but as a kid growing up, I was like, oh yeah. People would say, oh, you're an only child, and they would say it with sadness, and I'd be like, well, yeah, I guess I should feel bad about that. I never felt bad about that. My friends had
No.
siblings. They were always fighting with
Yep.
their siblings. I was like, I have it so
Yeah.
good. My parents belong to me. I could get them all by
Exactly.
myself.
Yeah. My best friend lived across the street. We were just a few months apart, and he had an older brother and then two younger sisters. So I got the sibling stuff growing up through them, and but I
Yes,
could retreat home across the street to my quiet home.
exactly. Same for me.
That
Okay,
was the
so all
best
the only,
best world. Yeah,
yeah.
best case scenario
Hopefully
right
all
there.
the only children out there are relating to us, but the rest of you that can't relate at all. But I get you. I get you. I had a best friend across the street in one dwelling, and then we moved. Then I had a best friend right next door. So I really lucked out. I think it would be a totally
Yeah,
different experience being an only child if you didn't have like somebody within walking distance, right?
totally. Yeah, I mean, you become a lot more isolated than having that family across the street. It kind of becomes a second family,
Mm-hmm.
and so it definitely changes especially when they're for us are a great Christian family, and so just a really cool experience to have that
Uh-huh.
because you get different perspectives, but all within the same kind of value alignment, which
Mm-hmm.
is really cool. So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah,
All right.
if it was just me, then and nobody else around, it would have been, I think, a completely different world. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get into business stuff and
Yes.
not just talk about being only children forever. But you did say something very interesting that I can't just like ignore. 26 surgeries.
Yeah.
Being so was that through your whole life? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So that was from birth up to my end of my freshman year of college. So I was born with a partial cleft palate and part of the left jawbone missing, and so from the start of birth, there was just complications and things that they had to work through that turned into kind of progressive um, surgeries throughout the years. And so from bone grafts to uh, other ear, nose, throat type surgeries, and so
Mhm.
some were small, some were quite major. And yeah, so that definitely formed and shaped a lot of who I am.
Okay, yeah. So you were born with partial palate and partial jawbone. Is that what you said?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So you had a lot of grafts and bone grafts and
Yeah,
skin grafts and construction.
reconstructive.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a lot
Okay.
of reconstructive surgeries. Yeah.
Throughout your whole life. So what was that like? Grade school, junior high, high
Yeah.
school, what was all that like?
There obviously there's moments that make it really tough, especially because a lot of people don't understand.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I was very lucky in having a really great community and school around that. And so it again, I think it was one of those things where God kind of aligned and created the right people in our lives and put the right people in the right place, from teachers to students and families to our church and different things that definitely impacted how that went compared to how I've seen others go through similar things or completely different, but in that same realm. So,
Mhm.
obviously it definitely can make it difficult and make some things a struggle, but kind of, beat a lot of the odds of just what they thought originally to what it turned out to be and how I am today. So, a lot of blessings through it. And, there's always the moments you go, why me? But then you realize what it actually turned you into and how it affected and impacted your life. So we
Mhm.
all have our situations and things that we go through, every one of us. And I think we have to, through it, sometimes it's hindsight more than it is in the moments, but you kind of have to just work through those
Mhm.
things.
Let's talk about, like, how did that affect your relationship with God? What was your
Yeah.
relationship with God like? How soon did you know God on a
Yeah.
close level? Like, talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I became a Christian when I was like 6 or 7. It
Mhm.
was very apparent watching what God did through it all. A lot of people, I think, you would think they go, well, how can you trust God when you're going through very serious and stressful and medical situations like that? But I don't know. It actually made my relationship with God stronger. Became a lot more I guess confident in my faith, and I could see what God was doing, and maybe that's what also created the closeness in our family, is just the communication that we had around it and what God did financially through it. When you have doctor's bills and different things, whether it was putting the
Mhm.
right insurance people in place, to
Mhm.
him showing up and providing through all kinds of means through those scenarios and situations. But I never once doubted what God was doing, and even as it went on to the later surgeries, as I got older and into the last ones, I actually, apparently there was, obviously being in the middle of it, you have all the hearsay of um, they were seconds from doing tracheotomies and losing me on the table, and there was a
Wow.
lot of very scary scenarios that I guess were even downplayed from how the doctors talked about it to my family when we had some medical friends with us. And so you just go, wow, okay, I mean, his hand was there throughout the whole
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And he made it very apparent that he's always there. And all we have to do is just trust him and what he's doing in our life. And it's not always easy, but it definitely shaped that relationship.
Mm. So, being a dad, how old are your kids?
Maverick, it'll be 7 here in a month, and then Marin is 3.5.
So, being a dad definitely changes the perspective on all sorts of things.
Yeah.
What what do you remember about your parents during that time? What was, you know,
Yeah.
what do you see there?
Um, I saw a lot of love, and obviously, I think obviously there was a lot of stress, but patience and trusting God. I mean, there was just a very firm relationship and God-centered home around it, and
Mhm.
it's what I have as an impact that I try and instill on the kids. It's not easy. especially in today's world and busyness of life. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what I remember the most.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any relatable experiences as a dad? What, anything go challenging for your kids so far?
Uh, Not to that extent. My kids are
Mhm.
are a little crazy at times, and especially Marin is a go-getter, I guess you'd say. And
Mhm.
they both crack their heads open already, and
Oh,
just stuff like that. We're like, okay, all right. But I mean, thankfully, we've not dealt with major things, but even through those, just kind of there you get some flashbacks of just what it's like to go through, certain aspects of the medical side of things, and just
yeah.
all right, God has a purpose for everything, so we're going to work through it, and
Mhm.
you you just recognize where your reliance comes from too, even in those situations, whether small or large. It's like, hey, Lord, you got this, and I'm gonna trust what you have um, for in this plan. So
Mhm. Yeah, I know. Our experience was out of our three, first child came along and was like this perfect little angel that we were like, oh my gosh, we're the best parents in the world. I mean, look at our
yeah,
kid, like he's so perfect. Like we did that. And
yeah,
then God used our second child to correct our thinking and be like, oh, I guess we have nothing to do with it, because it was a totally different experience. She had some challenges, and I mean, she's our go-getter. She's a very strong-willed. I love her. She's so amazing. She's in high school now, but we had some stuff we had to deal with, and medical challenges, and really miraculous healing by the time she was in grade school. So, but nothing in my life challenged my faith more. And even going through financial devastation, losing everything materially, that was the hardest thing. Having a kid that
yeah,
you have no control over the situation is so helpless feeling. But
yeah,
yeah, so kudos to your parents for going through all that. Now today, it seems like you have no complications. Is that an overstatement, or are you in
yeah.
that
No,
state?
we're in that state, which is
That's so
pretty
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
From the doctor saying he's gonna have a really hard time in school, even speech, maybe something where it's a very difficult. You're gonna have to have tutors and help, and
Mhm.
all these things throughout life. They didn't know at that point what all it was going to translate to, and then to see how God completely changed all of that is pretty
Mhm.
amazing. So yeah.
Wow.
Um, and we decided after the last surgery, no more, we're done, everything's good. After those complications, very serious complications, that we would just, let God did what he needed to do. So, and so did the doctors, and he worked through them. So yeah,
Hmm.
no more complication, no more issues, and just get to live life.
It's awesome. That's so cool. Well, thanks for sharing all that vulnerably, and obviously a part of the story of who you are today. So let's go there, like professionally, career wise. I kind of
Yeah.
talked about it in the bio. Um, you run a company, a marketing company. So tell me about that and anything you want to share there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been, so I've been in the, as we talked about even initially, in the marketing and agency space for 13 plus years. And, um, got to work with a lot of different clients, and kind of just continue to feel the nudge of at some point going to move out onto my own to do it for others, and to partner with clients kind of on my own and in that space. So in October, the plunge kind of was set forth to start Blue Portal full time. And so, the last 9 months, 10 months, whatever it is now, is really uh, been a whirlwind. A lot of, I think it's funny because we talk about the personal side and the trust and all the, how you just see God move and do what he does. And
Mhm.
man, the reliance on that over the last 10 months has felt almost sometimes more stressful way back as a child. Partially because there's obviously family involved and there's different things that you're working through. But, my whole goal with the business and what I see the impact is helping really provide just a different way of doing marketing through that lens of impact and partnership and relational partnerships that are going to not only just move the needle for growth of the business, but build that trust and relationship that can be hard to find in the marketing world. It becomes very transactional in just, hey, I need advertising. Great. I've been doing advertising for 13 years. I will do that for you, instead of going, okay, let's learn about your business. Let's understand what your goal in your business impact is, and what does that all look like, and how do I help you translate that to the marketplace through a marketing strategy that actually then makes sense versus just doing something that we just think we need to do, right? So, one of the biggest challenges right now I see is everybody wants to do social media. We don't really do social media management holistically as like a main thing. Everybody's doing it. I think a lot of people are doing it well, but it kind of reminds me of the ad space back in 13 years ago, right? Where that was the thing, right? Everybody's just going to do ads, and they'll kind of do some of the other stuff. And I see this kind of we're in this kind of ebb and flow in the marketing world right now, where social's it, and if everything else kind of revolves around it, versus recognizing what the full funnel looks like and how we actually utilize different aspects of either the digital landscape or just the marketing landscape as a whole, to create an attributable marketing ROI, right? And so that's the goal, is really to kind of help bring all those things together and really bridge that gap between that business strategy and what that goal is with everything that else that's going on from a marketing strategy to actually create a true ROI focused impact.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so one thing I hear that kind of stands out, I mean, there's so much, lack of a better term, noise in marketing space, and part of it is, where I'm at in my business. I'm tuned into all sorts of marketing and marketers and experts and stuff. So maybe I hear more noise than others, but what stands out so far about what you're saying is it sounds like there's more of an advisory. Obviously, it's Blue Portal Consulting, but more of an advisory, more of a relationship building process to what I hear you saying. Avoiding just a transactional, take your order, please kind of business. You're digging into the business a little bit more, your client's business, to see how you can take a look at the entire funnel process. So if you could unpack that a little bit more, and talk to me and the audience, as if we don't know anything about marketing. Kind of hard to do, but it helps.
But it's we started to unpack it there a little bit, but the biggest thing that I see is, I think we as businesses, I'm going to put myself in here too. We think we have it all figured out into who our audience is. We say, oh, well, small, medium-sized businesses. And we say, look, we only work with Fortune 500s or whoever it is. We think we know what our value is. And because we are in our business, but that doesn't always translate, or we don't actually have it really nailed down at a deeper level that's actually going to translate to the market. So the biggest thing for me in that, and translating and looking at the bigger picture, is actually being able to create that relationship that says, and that consultative partnership, right? That says, okay, but let's really dig deeper into who really is your client and who really is your main prospect. It's amazing how many businesses that I'll walk into and they're like, oh yeah, we serve these people, we kind of serve we serve everybody, right? It's like, well, yes, but let's actually look at the books and even see, okay, but you're going to probably find some hints there that, yeah, you might serve people outside of your main audience or your main client, right? But typically you're going to find that there's going to be one focus. There's going to be somebody that gravitates towards you over somebody, you're a competitor. And so who is that? And then why is that? And what's that value that they're seeing in what you do? And then from that, let's actually take that and actually turn that into a marketing strategy that makes sense. Instead of transactional, it's saying, well, maybe that your audience isn't on social media. As we were talking about that example of like, create all the videos and do it. That's great. And you should, and you need to have the brand awareness and the engagement. But if that's not where your audience lives, they're not on Instagram, or they're only on LinkedIn, or they're not on LinkedIn, like, then you probably shouldn't be on those platforms. Like if you're a B2C company working, selling shoes, you probably shouldn't be on LinkedIn very often, or it shouldn't be your main focus, right? Be there as a company profile and yada yada. But you're not going to sell more unless you have a very specific, unique value to those people in that business world. Maybe it's, well, our shoes actually help cooks in the kitchen stand longer, and that's great. Then let's focus on cooks and all that. But so again, we got to niche down into the specifics of what you do so we can actually be in the right place with the right message. And I think a lot of times it's like, hey, this is who we are. But then it's the so what, right? So what, and what does it actually mean to your end client or your prospect? And how do you get them to actually have a conversation with you to learn more? And a lot of times, like, oh yeah, great. I see this kind of business all the time. Yeah, but what makes you different? And not putting down your competitors, but actually just showing the impact that you have on your end client, or and really kind of making sure that is all in place. Because a lot of times it's like, hey, let's do ads, and it's like, hey, they're not working. Yeah, because we didn't actually start at the beginning, right? And I didn't have a good understanding because we didn't have those conversations, or it's actually not built out correctly in a way that actually can create an impactful marketing strategy. So that's really the whole idea, is to build that piece of it. So no matter what marketing happens or who does it, there's a confidence there in the business that says we know exactly who we're going after. And I think the biggest lie that business owners tell themselves is that they know what that is and they don't need that. And I can tell you probably 90% of the time, if not more, there might be an idea, but it's really not actually concrete. And it's really not at the detail that it should be, that actually can then create a statistical relevance and impact and analysis of that data to say, like, yeah, this is real. Some more becomes wishful thinking, right? Like, oh, well, this is who we want it to be. It's like, that's great, but is that really what it is, or who it is? And then if that's not who you want and your audience is different, why is that? And what do you need to then change to actually impact those that you're trying to truly impact? So maybe that broke it down, or maybe that just added to it. But that's really the whole idea there is, we need to do advertising, we need to do websites and SEO, and we need to have all of those great things. But if they're not working together, all tied back to your business and what you actually are trying to do, none of it matters, right? It's hard to convince anybody. And sometimes it's even just when we're in it and we're in those weeds, it can be very difficult to see things from that outside perspective, because we're so ingrained in our business. So that's the whole goal, is to help that and give that perspective, and not only the deep dive into that, but also the 30,000 foot view that says, here's the landscape.
So it sounds like at the most basic level, and from the beginning stages, so foundationally in the client relationship that you have with your clients, it's the first value creation is around, well, this question, like, if everything you think is true isn't, that might be something you might want to know, right? So you you look at what are those assumptions of who. So the basic level marketing is what you do and who you do it to or for.
Yep.
So if you think that you know what that is, let's challenge that. Let's back that up with data. Let's do some research. Let's do some analysis. Most probably businesses that come to you haven't done that, and you're able to go into that investigation and validate assumptions or find out what's really true. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, the other part of it is, and the other piece is that you work through it and you go, oh, you do have it nailed down. Amazing. Then let's work through then what the marketing strategy needs to look like and the messaging that goes along with it to then tie to that. And then through that process, you continue to get that statistical data and insights that tell you that that is continually true, or that maybe sometimes it needs to adapt and change. But it's really that identity focused marketing strategy. And yeah, putting all those things together, especially in a small to medium sized business world, I think it's definitely an area of, especially with the noise of the amount of businesses starting, our social everything, we have to be able to break through that in some way. And the best way to do that is to confidently know our unique value.
All right. So assuming that somebody's listening that isn't sure, like maybe they're questioning, like, because here's the deal. If you don't have a whole bunch of leads flowing into your business and sales is not an issue and revenue generation is not an issue for you, if you're in the place where those things are challenging, you might have some unchecked assumptions. You might need to ask yourself these questions. So somebody who might be saying, okay, wait, maybe I do have, I know what I think I want to sell people. I know what I think I want, the customer journey I think I want to take people through, but are those the people that, that I actually am the best at serving? And I think there can actually be a grieving process to that too. Maybe you've got some client relationships where they're like, oh no, I know it's this, and this is what we do for them. And then you're like, well, your data says you do this for those people. And then they're like, oh, I don't necessarily love that. Has that ever happened?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can vividly think of a client that's like, yep. And in that same vein, right? It's like, well, actually, and then through that grieving process, kind of recognizing, okay, well, then we need to change some of our material or how we focus, or we have to figure out like what's causing that, even at that, right? What's the cause and effect of that? Like what's causing that to be the case? And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes just leaning into that niche or in creating a secondary of your initial ideal client, right, that you wanted, but making sure we have that actually narrowed out to where why is what you were assuming was going to go for one set of your audience resonating with a different set of your audience, right? And then kind of figuring out what that looks like, and then just building out those different personas, because there's always going to be more than one. It's always going to necessarily be only one sub niche. There might be multiple depending on what you do and how you do it. But you lean into what is working, but then translate that to another audience, but in a way that actually is going to impact them.
Okay, so let's say that we get to the place where it's like, okay, I know that this set of people, this target audience, this avatar, this is who I definitely like. If I could work with that person every day, all day, I know I could make a ton of impact for them, because my program, my process, my service is perfectly aligned with them. So you get this like, and then you're able to confirm it, right? But so once you establish, okay, we've got the right messaging, we got the right what and who and why, then That's good, right? That's good to know.
Yeah.
So let's say we confirm that. And I think there's probably people that can relate to this problem as well, this dilemma. Like, okay, I'm really solid on that piece, but I still don't have people, leads flowing in. I don't have people knocking down my door. Uh,
Yep.
how do we do that? That's where the bigger picture strategy comes in, right? So
Correct.
maybe you
Yep.
could, I don't know if you have like a top, number list, like, here's your top tips for how to like
Yeah.
get going on that, but that would be
Yep.
really nice.
Yeah. So, well, that's where the fun begins, right? I mean, the
Okay.
other part's kind of the grunt work of it, of like, all right, we got to get into the detail of it.
Mhm.
Working with a client right now where we just kind of finished that process. Now they're having a lot of fun creating their marketing for it, going, oh,
Mhm.
it just makes so much more sense. And so you get to really build out a roadmap of saying what is the most achievable. So like, I think there's a couple of steps here. One is from that saying where are they? So we figured out the what, who, and why. So then it's
Mhm.
where.
Mhm. Okay.
Where are they? Are they on social? What platforms are they on? Or are they searching on Google? Or are they using their voice search? Because they're tech savvy and they only use Alexa or Siri. What? Where are they? Like actually really
Mm.
becoming creative in that. Where are they? Where are they getting their information? Where are they searching for somebody like you? That
Mm.
can even be local. Like marketing is more than just an online chat. I think a lot of times we get boxed in by saying, well, it's only social, it's only my website and search engines for SEO and only advertising. Like, well, yeah, I mean, those are a big piece of it in the digital world. But, maybe they're at your local chamber. Maybe they're at your local, business groups. If you're a business, business to business, or you just got to find or trade shows, right? You just got to find where those people are, and then from
Mhm.
that, then you build out your specific strategy to reach them effectively. So
Mhm.
um, we can start with, I think it's always good, you got to kind of, which is why we focus on websites, SEO, and advertising, because holistically we can get in front of those people while ancillarily doing those other things, right? Because
Mm.
we can show up in front of them digitally while after or before they've gone to those other events or other aspects of the marketing funnel and trail. Um, we can create that brand recognition and engagement and ultimately the conversion, whatever that looks like on the back end,
Mhm.
and that flow can happen. So it's really about figuring out that flow, the top, middle, and bottom of your funnel. What does that look like? And then from that, building that out. So, from a search and even advertising perspective, like what are they looking for, and how do you translate that into keywords or content, or ads, right? For specifics of what you do and the products that they're looking for, the services they're looking for.
Mhm.
And then from that, I think the other piece is you got to make sure the website then translates to that who and why, and that resonates with them, but also then has an easy to follow funnel of some kind. I think that word has gotten a little misconstrued from some of
Mm.
the products out there. Like, oh
Mhm.
my, I got to use funnels on my website.
Mhm.
No, we don't want a spam funnel. We just want to make sure that people can read the right information in the right order that gets
Mm.
them to want to reach out to you. That's really what it translates down to in a very small box, right? It's just
Mhm.
what is going to get them, and are they able to find it? Do they
Mhm.
have the right content? Are they able to find it? And then are they able to reach out to you? Those three
Mhm.
things, it's kind of three pillars. So then from that, then there's a lot we can do, right? So
Mhm.
I'd say it's hard to break. It is hard to break it down into like, what are the three steps? Like, well, you got to find where they are. Then from that, you got to figure out what your tactical strategy is. Like, what are going to be the things that are going to resonate when you actually are in front of them, based on those initial assumptions and value propositions. And then you test and learn. Really, is what it comes down to, right? Is it
Mhm.
working? Is it creating an impact? Are you growing? Are you seeing lift in what you were doing? Are you seeing more of those leads coming through? And if not, then you adapt. You continue to test and optimize. You figure out what may not be working or resonating. But initially, you got to get that foundation first, and then it's
Mhm.
it's much easier to actually test and learn because you confidently created your foundation, right? Which is I know who I'm going after. but I'm just not reaching them yet. So then it just continue to figure out how you're going to reach them effectively.
Mm-hmm. Give me some latest and greatest, better insight on SEO. SEO has been around for a long time. Google is the major player, YouTube, but people hear about SEO, they hear about keywords and content, but what would, if you were, well, I guess you kind of have started recently, if you were starting a business today, and you wanted to make sure, I mean, SEO, you got to have whatever content you're putting out there, you want to make sure it's SEO friendly. I know that, at least, right? So what's the kind of the unpack that for somebody just getting started with that area?
Yeah. So it's continually changing and rapidly because of AI. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of AI and how that impacts it too. The biggest question I get actually is like, okay, we know content is kind of the thing now for SEO because of the way that even the current algorithms read content to then provide, okay, this content is related to these searches. And it's less about the specifics of the keyword, though those are still important and you need to make sure that you highlight those for those search engines to basically connect the dots, right? Like if you're talking about pest control, but you never talk about pest control, then it's never going to relate, right? So you got to have the relational aspect of your content, but it has to be informative, educational, and then also, you want your conversion aspect of that too, the funnel based of, conversion related content. But there's still all the different aspects of the technical side, making sure that things are actually working. I would say the biggest things that I see to make sure of is the technical piece of it. So like, how quick is your website? Is everything on your website optimized accordingly and correctly to where the content loads correctly? It's not taking forever for the site to load. Images are crawlable. All those typical technical things are still really important. But then in the content then was related to your audience. From that, then as I think coming here in the next couple months, we're going to see Google release their AI search engine, and it's going to start to change that game too. And so it really becomes an informational content game where the search engines have gotten really good is recognizing AI written content. So you really have to be careful and utilizing tools like, we could bust out pages of content in just a few minutes with the right prompts and all that. But you got to make sure that they're edited properly, right? That they are scrubbed and reworded and rewritten, and utilizing AI as a tool and a resource to help you get further than you probably would have on your own, but not letting it be your end all, because you'll get punished in that sense too. So it would be very easy to be like, yeah, just write more content. And then it's like, oh, well, ChatGPT or my other AI software can help me do that. And it's like, great, but you got to worry about a lot of other things too. So just being mindful of that as well, of plagiarism issues, basically taking content and rewriting it, and it not actually being, algorithms recognizing those things, to just recognizing the language that it's using, and that it is not a human written form of content. So just things to be aware of and definitely mindful
so
of.
that's a broad scope overview. Every single thing you said there could be unpacked. That could be a whole book.
It really could.
To make it something applicable. So I'm imagining somebody's like, okay, I'm going to start my own pool cleaning business, or I'm going to start my pest control business. Somebody that's like, they have an expertise in something, and they're going to go out and do one product or one service, and they're just getting started. For that person, just don't unpack the whole like world of here's how to build your business, but how could they get started and do some things that might move the needle in the right direction to help bring them in clients?
So going to vary by business, but I guess it's identifying that problem, right? And then
Let's try
writing
to
about.
be specific. Let's use like
Okay,
a specific
okay.
made up case study or one that you have,
All
but
right.
it could be,
Yeah.
pick one, but I threw a few out there. If you don't like those, use a
Yeah.
different one.
No, it's let's go with pest control, right? Just because I think
Mhm.
it's very, very specific. We all have problems with ants or bugs or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a homeowner that's got a problem with, spider infestation or even a rat infestation.
Mhm.
So let's use
Let's go
mice,
with the
because mice, I
rats.
feel like,
Yeah,
let's go with the
mice and
rats.
rats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mice and
Yeah.
rats, yeah, because those are bugs you can spray and it's all good, right?
Mhm.
With mice and rats, it can be a little bit more involved. So it's then creating I think you want to create a brand awareness level, right? It's going to say
Mhm.
we are here, and we do mice and rat control
Mhm.
for residential homes. Like there's your overview of your product, service, and keyword. And then
Mhm.
you would want to do two things. One, basically the DIY version, the informational version, whether that's content or video or social video, saying, hey, you have a mice problem. Here's how you can handle it. Do X, Y, and Z, fill in the holes on the side of your house, write out that content, create that video showing how to do it. And you want to help them solve their problem, whether it includes you or not. And then from that, also be able to say, but if this still doesn't solve your problem, or you need more help, or you need us to help you do it, here's how you contact us, right?
Mhm.
So you're creating the awareness of the brand, you're building the engagement with the brand and people actually utilizing your content. It's helpful, right, to
Mhm.
them. And then you're also giving them a way to utilize your services. And you are showing your expertise in a very quick and concise way that says, we can do this thing for you. So
Mhm.
to do that, obviously you want consistent messaging across your website, a landing page or ad, and then your any other presence that you have, social presence or whatever.
Mhm.
And so it's just following that kind of process, and that from that like larger one step process where that can hit all forms of your funnel, you want to then start to break that down, right? There's a lot of talk right now, like you can create 60 pieces of content out of one, right? So
Mhm.
show your top of funnel awareness and engagement content, and then you want to show your expertise, right? And then you want to show kind of how you solve a problem yourself. So like there could also be an extreme to that. So mice are still getting in after plugging the holes and setting traps. Well, here's how we do it. Maybe it's more organic or family, like nice, friendly way of transplanting. Like you have
Mhm.
a very specific solution that nobody else is doing. So then you want
Mhm.
to show as well what that solution is. So maybe it's a humane trap that then you take all the mice and put them on a farm somewhere, right, or whatever that is, um, or domesticate
So
the
you
rats. I don't
show
know,
your unique way of doing
but you want to
things.
show your unique way of doing things that then says, well, that other company is going to kill all the rats, and I'm gonna maybe even like harmful chemicals in my crawl space or whatever that I
Mhm.
don't want to have around my kids. Whereas they do something that's more humane, no harmful chemicals. You want to find what those unique benefits are and then
Mhm.
just translate that to your consumer. And right
Mhm.
there, we've already kind of identified even in that who our initial, maybe it's you're talking about a suburban residential family that has kids, that's health conscious, right? That
Mhm.
is looking for that pest solution because they live out in the country. Maybe
Mhm.
that's what it is, right? Well, I said suburban country. That doesn't make any sense. So don't do that. But that's the kind of issues that we run into. That goes back to the very
Mhm.
beginning, right? Where it's like, well, but then we got two. No,
So
just pick
get
one.
specific on one of those.
Get
Yeah.
very specific. So residential, maybe they're building behind you. Like we had that, and we had even luckily we didn't have the mice problem, and our neighbor did, right? Because all the mice were
Mm.
going from the field to their
Hmm.
crawl space, right?
Sure.
So find that very specific niche and then translate that to here's how you can solve it, but then here's why we can help you solve it in maybe a way that you can't do yourself, right?
Mhm.
You don't
Yeah,
have the traps for it. You don't have all that. So that's how you translate it. Then you build
mhm,
written content like the how-tos. You create your
mhm.
video content. You're showing what you're doing, how you're doing it. And then you're also creating then that lower funnel advertising. So saying nice pest control or whatever. And they know who you are because they've gone through that brand, that engagement, and then hopefully that
Mhm.
conversion.
Yeah. So this can kind of be fun. I mean, is it okay if we take an extra few minutes here? Because I just want to like,
Yeah, absolutely.
what if we actually, you and me, we have somebody
Yeah,
listening and they're like, gosh, I that's me. I got this extra special thing I developed a long time ago to that
yeah,
you could literally, your kids could eat it and they're going to be fine. And the rat is going to, be dead. So it's
yep,
amazing. I invented this back in chemistry school, back in, my old college days. So if we had that guy who has this like very unique service, so I like what you said. Do a video, show, hey, you got this mouse rat problem, right? Here's how I would come into your house and do it. This is what I do. This is what I do. You're demonstrating expertise. You would show it so they can do it themselves. And then, the call to action on the video would be, if that didn't work for you, or you want, and you're like, ooh, I don't want to touch that stuff, call me. Or here's my free download step-by-step guide that I put in print version. You can get that. Click here.
yep,
um my thought is, and I want to see what you think about this, because that video, I'm thinking brand new person, maybe doesn't know
yeah,
how to put a website up, right? They can
yep,
upload a video on their phone, put it into YouTube, and
yep,
they're basically in business. And my thought is that could go to like a Google, I don't know, this isn't the right term for it anymore, Google My Business page. It's like Google Business Panel or something, but like get on the map. And
yep,
you can even get like a free website-ish like thing where you could post
yep.
some pictures and videos and click here for the download. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, 100%. Right. I mean, I think we complicate it sometimes a little bit too much. But yeah, Google My Business, Maps location. It's amazing how many people on Maps don't have websites. You know, because
Uh-huh.
it's the service may not require it like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, you and with the Google My Business too, you can have those pictures, those videos. You can create those updates. Now, some of it would require there's a little bit of technicality in somebody needing to know who you are as a brand, but if they do, um, in some cases, right, not for maps,
Mhm.
but for like the the side of search, kind of the thing. But yeah, I would say you can get up and running pretty quickly, right? Even uploading
Mhm.
that to, I especially for small businesses, like even social can become that new landing page, right? Like you think about the audience going to be on those residential homeowners with kids are going to be, on an Instagram or like a TikTok. If you start
Mhm.
there even and then have that running on YouTube as well, whether it be a YouTube short because of mobile or a
Mhm.
full video, or maybe it's both. Um,
Mhm.
that like that alone, right? You can have a
Mhm.
contact card that pops up instead of a website for your links on social, and people can get to you really, really quick. So
Mhm.
you can create a very efficient strategy, and then as that grows, then worry about the building up of a website and
Mhm.
all those other aspects that you're doing. But if
Mhm.
you have that dialed in, yeah, you just kind of you can go for it.
Mhm. Yeah, at least to get you started,
Yep.
and then from there, once they start, creating some revenue and stuff, then they should probably call you, because it gets more complicated after that. But yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
can get started. You can get started with the video, and then like if you want to get a little more fancy, like you were saying, get that transcribed, turn that into other content.
Yep.
Do another video, rinse and repeat, and people are going to start seeing you.
Yes, and
So,
the other one that's been big lately too, even for those small like startups, right?
uh-huh.
Like there's even a neighbor, a great example, similar space. He's a handyman, um, and was posting it on like the neighborhood Facebook group, and people are,
Yeah.
and it becomes a network of people, right?
Mhm.
There's other places like that when you can start realizing your uniqueness. Next
Mhm.
door, alignable. There's some other smaller
Mhm.
platforms based on what you do can be very beneficial like that, where
Mhm.
it's, well, where do I start? Well, you start on some of those smaller areas, smaller
Mhm.
platforms that are attuned to what you do and where your audience is going to be. Like a
Mhm.
neighborhood platform or a group, I mean, I would assume you're going to get quite a bit of business because that's where your target audience is pretty immediately,
Sure.
right? So it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, we have that problem, we'll call you. So it can start quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, sometimes I think those of us who are more in the, we're working on, sustainability, starting to get a business, build a business that can run without us. I think we can forget these basics, these basic ideas. And sometimes it just takes like, okay, what worked? I've tried so many things and nothing seems to be working. Maybe go back to the basics and say, okay, well, let's simplify it. What would work for sure? Like if I just started again today, what would work? And
Yeah.
we never know for sure, right? But
Right.
sometimes the most, I mean, I work with people working on their marriages a lot, and sometimes it's the very basic stuff that sometimes we got to get back to, and it's not rocket
Yep.
science. How long has it been since you took your wife on a date? Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's start there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And it's funny, even running a marketing business, it can be difficult to keep those basics and not get overwhelmed by the plethora of marketing opportunities that are out there, right? It's going to be
Mhm.
very, very difficult to
Yeah.
just stay in the basics, stay in your lane, and just own it, right? And that's really what
Yeah.
it comes down to.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely feel the pain of anybody who's like frustrated with marketing, and I want to give people an opportunity to get a hold of you, because I think, one thing is it starts with is this somebody I could trust, right? Like, is this person going to
Yep.
like sell me something I don't need that's really expensive? And I've already done that. I've already wasted a whole bunch of money and nothing happened. And I definitely want to encourage my audience to reach out to you, because I think we've demonstrated that you're somebody who cares and will, lead with value and, relationship, and trying to at all costs to avoid bad advice. So, what's the process for somebody who wants to reach out to you? What does that look
Yeah.
like?
Pretty simple. You can reach me on either the website, blueportalconsulting.com, or social. I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me there. We're also briefly on Instagram. We have some of those profiles as well, but you can reach out in any of those ways. Email um, Michael at blueportalconsulting.com, and we'd love to have a conversation. Yeah, I appreciate that, Scott.
All right, cool. So we'll put all that in the show notes. But what can somebody expect once they get a hold of you? Do
Yeah.
you set up a consult, or what's it look like?
Yeah, we'll set up a meeting just to understand kind of your needs and what you're looking to accomplish, what your goals are, maybe in what you tried before. Kind of just get a holistic picture and view of where you're at. And then, like we said at the beginning and throughout the whole thing, it's really about figuring out what's going to work best for you. And we build a plan based on that. So, what your unique needs are, your budget, all of this, and figure out what can fit within that. And that's going to help you grow. So, like to make the process easy. It's a transactional and selling things that don't need. Like we want to make it very tailored to you and what your needs are. So we'll kind of understand that and unpack it a little bit, figure out what your pain points have been in the marketing process, and then try and make it as easy as possible, and then build that relationship and really walk with you through your marketing journey.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Michael. This has been good as far as like unpacking some of the stuff in marketing that we all like get frustrated with. I feel like there's so many things that we could have dove deeper into. We covered a lot, but more than anything, I mean, I learned some stuff about you that I never knew. and we share a lot in common, and I really appreciate the relationship. And we've known each other since I want to say 2010, 2011, somewhere back there.
Yep.
So definitely, if you're listening and something that Michael said appealed to you, I encourage you to check the show notes, get a hold of him at the email or the website. And Michael, I appreciate you being here. Any last word before I let you go?
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate the listeners and being able to talk with you. Yeah, it's been great reconnecting after all these years too. So no, I just appreciate the time, and hopefully there's something in there that was impactful for someone.
Thanks for listening to the Awakened Life podcast. I've been your host, Scott Landis. Hey, are you feeling overwhelmed and stressed out? It could be that you're out of balance or have a misalignment of your time and priorities. This month at Awakened Life Academy, we're featuring the Total Freedom Life Wheel exercise designed to help you uncover what might be off balance in your work, life, and other priorities. And then it helps you realign your priorities to your purpose. Check out the full training video and free download at wheel.awakenlife.com. That's wheel.awakenedlife.com for free access. Don't put this personal growth opportunity off. Go get it now and start to experience the freedom that balance can bring to your life. Go to wheel.awakenlife.com.